Good evening, good evening. This is Coco 929. Let me just say again, thanks to everyone who has tuned in to me, who listens to my videos, who's getting something from them. Thank you so much for praying for me and anyone who is going through it. My email is on the community page, I believe, on my bio page. If you have, if you would like to reach out to me, you can feel free to do that. So let's hop right in. I'm trying not to make these all an hour. I look up and it's like, wow. So, where was I? I said I was going to pick back up to my dad. Okay, let's start with my dad today. My dad, okay, he found out I was in my early teens. I was 13 and maybe 14. So my dad had kept hearing stuff through other people, okay? And so he asked me a question. He said, I want you to tell me the truth. And I'm like, okay. He said, you heard me? I said, yes, sir. He said, does that boy mess with you? And I said, what boy? He looked at me. And so he mentioned his name. And I dropped my head like that. He said, uh-huh. And I could just see the veins in my dad's, face and body tense. And he said, how long has he been doing this, you know? And so I just started crying and I said, um, um, he said, tell me the truth because I'm going to find out. And I said, well, my later, ever since I was going on 9, like it, he said, that long? He just, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. He said, uh-huh, yeah. He said, come down to mama's house. And I said, oh, I started crying. He's like, no, come down to mama's house. He said, be down there at 9 o'clock. He said, I'm going to have you as a surprise. I'm going to catch him coming in. He said, yeah, me and him going to talk. Now, anytime my daddy says we going to talk and it comes to a dude I'm in, that means only one thing, trust and believe. So I walked down my grandmother's. I was in the house. And you know what's so funny? Because everybody was scared of my daddy. Now, my cousin's mother act like she wasn't because she was the oldest child. She said, that's my little brother, blah, blah, blah. But if you know my dad, you know my dad is deadly. What I mean by that, like I said earlier, without telling too much of my business, my father trained celebrities in California and in Texas. My dad also was in special forces, meaning that there were times that he would leave and I would be the only one to know that he's gone somewhere. And then he would come back. Um, it's a whole bunch of stuff, so I have to watch what I say because, like I said, um, to mess with me or my family or my father is really digging into government situation. And so I know how these people on YouTube like to dox, and I'm going to help them save their life without saying too much. And some of y'all have said I should write a book. I've actually written 2 books about this. Started out one just to get it out in a sense. I had somebody who like formatted it for me, and they called themselves proofreading, which I should have did everything from the beginning, but I didn't know how to start. I stand behind the word, but there is some typos in it. So my second book, I did myself. Everything. From formatting, wording, everything. And it was at different parts of my life. My first book, I had just started getting free from my cousin. And so you can tell that as you read it. My second book was when I got highly upset at everything that had happened, and I was in transitioning mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, becoming the correct and new person. And you can tell that. And so my third one, that I'm writing. I already got the title. It's already registered with the the Library of Congress. You know, they give you that IBN number and everything. My computer is not where I need it to be in order to do what I need to do, because this is going to be the third and final chapter of that particular series, and then I'm starting something else. So I will let everybody know how to find my books. It's just that my books is listed up under a surname that is attached to me. And I particularly, like I said, this sector, which I'm not in the beef sector, but I support people in the beef sector. And some people don't care if you a subby or not. They still try to pull your information up to have you doxxed, you know? And again, I'm helping them save their life. So, got down to my granny's house. My grandmother was there, one of my uncles, a couple of students or whatever, and my dad. And I remember him being in the kitchen, and they said, "Oh, here he come," because my daddy spotted him. So he was like, he tried to come through the back door because he had the back door key. And my grandmother said, "Go around the front." He said, "What?" He's, man, you could hear him. So he goes around the front. My dad tells us to go in the kitchen. As soon as the boy stepped through the door, they shut it so he couldn't get back out. And he had to face my dad, which is his biggest fear. Now, you would think by him being afraid of my daddy that he wouldn't have never tried me. That's why I know it's something wrong upstairs with him, because oh my goodness, you can just say my dad's name. Like, my dad's name carries power, period. But if you say my dad's name to him, he shakes. Well, that night, whew, it went down. My dad said, "Where you been?" He said, "Some lame place." Now, we still in the kitchen. He said, "I got a call about you." And he was like, "You did?" He said, "Yeah, I got a call about you." He said, "And I was told you wasn't there." So he got quiet. He said, "Want to try it again? Want to tell me where you was?" And so he came up with something. And everybody thought that was going to be the extent of it, because nobody knew that my daddy had came and talked to me and asked me about this person. And so my grandmother was kind of, since my daddy didn't like flip, everybody started relaxing that was in the living room. The rest of us was in the kitchen, okay, hiding. Well, we wasn't hiding. We was just in the kitchen, so he didn't know that we was there. All of a sudden, my dad act like he's going to walk away. And he stopped. He said, "I have a question for you." And so when he said, "I have a question for you," when he said it like that, I said, "Oh my God." And I just start crying. And they was like, "What's wrong?" Nobody knew, but I know my daddy. And he said, "Yes, sir, what's that?" He said, "What made you think you can mess with my daughter?" And at that time, he was like, and then my grandmother was like, "Okay, Junior." He said, "No, Mama." He said, "I respect you, but right now, He said, "Y'all kept that from me." He said, "That's my seed." Oh my goodness, y'all. He went off. When he said, you gonna say that? You gonna say that? Okay. He said, "Coco, come here." I said, "Yes, sir." And I came in the living room and stood there. When he saw me, he just broke. My cousin broke. He was like, "So you want to say it again? You want to say it in front of her? You want to tell me in front of her that you ain't never messed with her. You ain't never touched her. You ain't never played with her, and you know what I'm saying. You ain't." I mean, he went down the list. He said, "What part of that am I wrong about?" And he just stood there. My daddy went off. He lunged at that boy. If he didn't slam him against every wall in that living room, if he didn't take it, I mean, it took my uncle and one of my daddy's friends and my grandmother to kind of throw herself in front of my cousin so that my daddy can see my grandmother and not kill him. That's how bad it was. She literally threw herself in front of him so that my daddy wouldn't kill him. And I'm standing over there just crying and screaming, just crying and screaming, just crying. Because remember, at this time, I'm in love with him now. Okay? But I can't sit up here and tell my daddy that. I'm like, but I did end up telling him. I did, because he went to take me home. Oh, did I fail to mention that my daddy was also a policeman? Wow. Okay, let me get that out there. So he said, come on. So I got in the squad car with him, and he just took a deep breath. He hit the steering wheel, not jumped. And he said, why didn't you tell me? I said, I tried. I told your mom. I said, and she blamed me. He said, what? He screamed. Oh my goodness. He screamed. He screamed. He screamed. He said, wait a minute. You told my mother. I said, yeah. Yeah, I told your mother. And what did she say verbatim? So I told him. He said, that sound like my mama. He just kept sitting there. He just got real quiet. He said, all this time. Then he said, let me ask you something. He said, because all this time my mama knew. Who else knew? I said, Daddy, your whole family know. He said, Coco, don't tell me that. He said, don't tell me that. And he just started crying. He said, baby, don't tell me that. I said, your whole family know. I said, his mother, your brothers, your sisters, my cousins, they all know. I said, so it's not a secret. I was just wondering how long it would be before you found out. Like that. And so I'm still crying. I'm sitting there crying. He's crying because he's pissed. And then he see the hurt in my face. And he just hugged me. He said, it is not your fault. He said, it's not your fault. He said, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. And nobody's going to stop me. And I start hollering, no, don't kill him. Don't kill him. And I guess my dad, because he's a psychologist, see, also. So I think my dad kind of was like, wait a minute. He looked at me. He said, oh, no. I said, what? He said, you love him. And I just dropped my head. He said, you love him? I said, yes. Like that. Oh, my goodness, y'all. Wait a minute. Give me a minute before I won't cry. And he just shook his head. And we sitting in the squad car, just sitting there in front of my grandmother's house. We haven't budged. My daddy didn't move. I think he had a whole lot of emotions going on at the same time, and it was something else. And I felt bad because my dad almost killed this boy that night. He almost killed him. I'm serious. So I felt bad. I felt like it was my fault. There you go, Stockholm, come on. I felt like it was my fault because had I not told my dad, he wouldn't have never got done like that. I'm not thinking, which mama tore mine now, and my difference now I know, had he not messed with me from the get-go, he wouldn't have never had to deal with that. But back then, I just wore that as it's my fault. And that the family would blame me that this boy almost died. And so his sister, the one who, said she was going to shoot me and I was going to shoot her, and all that, she calls down to my granny's house, which is her mother, and said, you tell your son I'm on my way down there, and when I get down there, if I see him, and if my son ain't doing no better, tell him I'm going to shoot him. Like that. And so my daddy, being who he is, where I get it from, said, tell her come on with it. I ain't my daughter. Tell her come on with it. Because he told his mom, he said, you'll be burying two people. You'll be burying that no good grandson of yours and that no good mammy of his. And that's how he felt. And I'm like, oh my my goodness. So, y'all, it was messed up, and from then on, he couldn't stand him, for real. He, like, my daddy never took him back as his nephew. Every time, like, you know, my daddy would come to my grandmother's house, and my cousin was there. He was like, "Hey, how you doing, Uncle Junior?" My daddy go, "Mm," and just, but like, it just never got any better. It just couldn't stand him. Seriously, he could not stand him. And he told me, because of you and my mama is the only reason why he's still breathing. He said, because I'm taking in consideration how you feel, and you will feel, he said, you already, beginning to think it's your fault, and it's not. He said, but I'm going to have to work it out with you some type of way. He said, and my mother, she's older. I don't want her to see all the hard work I put in my life to fall. And because I know more, and I'm a law enforcement agent and all this and stuff, they would punish me to the full extent of the law, and it was just bad. My dad, if I could say he hate him, if his cousin was on fire and somebody spitting on him would put it out, my daddy would hold his spit. He wouldn't even spit on him. That's how much he hated him. And he, every chance he got, because my cousin felt like if he tell my daddy how he felt about me, that would make it better, because everybody else in the family had drunk his Kool-Aid, okay? So he felt like, I just need to let your daddy know that I love you and my intentions with you were pure, that I want to marry you. And I said, did he not almost just kill you? Literally. I mean, oh my goodness, the next day, y'all, like I said, I felt like crap. And I was at home and my phone rang. My mom was gone. And I said, hello. And he could like, he didn't sound like himself because he could barely talk. I mean, my dad messed him up, seriously. And he said hi, and I'm thinking, you ain't got enough. But if I be honest, I really wanted to hear from him, and I was afraid that I wouldn't hear from him. That's what was going through my mind the next day as well. Like, will I ever hear from him again? And so he was like, if I can find a way out of here, because it got bad for him during that time. He said, if I can find a way to get out of this house, I want to come and see you. We need to talk. Okay? And I'm like, my daddy gonna kill you. He's like, it's just a chance I gotta take. So I was like, okay. So he went around. Yeah, it became so bad. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it became so bad for him. Like, I don't feel sorry for him. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just telling you how bad it became. It became so bad for him that every time, like, he would go a block up and over and double back through, like, the back way to come over my house. Okay? And it's like they knew it. And every time he would leave my house and he would go to my granny's, because that's where he was staying, they would tear him up. He took a many a beatings because finally they were like, stay away from her. Stay away from her. And I'm not playing. Like, my uncles would like, they would get like a belt and extension cord and things like that. And they would just, and he just wouldn't stay away from me. He would not. He wouldn't. And I remember I went down a friend's house who lived next door to the auntie that used to get them drunk and high and all that to come and see me. And she was on the porch. And she said, your daddy gonna end up killing him if he don't stop coming to see you. I said, I know. I said, I keep telling him, but he said that's the chance he's willing to take. She said, do you know every time he comes in, they know he's been down your house and he gets the worst beating he's ever got, and he takes them, and the next day he's still down your house. And I just got real quiet. I didn't know what she wanted me to do because, see, first you can't come to me like that, and you the one was prompting them on to come down my house. She was getting them high and drunk, telling him you was giving them condoms, and he was telling them here, don't have no kids and all this and stuff. And I'm your whole niece, like he's your whole nephew. Our parents is your sister and brother. Y'all got the same mother and father, so it wasn't no step, nothing. So, but then you want to come to me talking about I need to stop him from coming down there. Why ain't you stop him? That was my point. All them times he was coming to you, you had all the opportunity in the world to stop him from coming down my house, and you didn't. So don't even come to me, you know. But he did. He did. And so what happened was my grandmother ended up sending him back. Sending him back out of town where his mom was to move in with her. Because she's like, I can't keep him from her. We beat him. I'm not trying to be funny. And what's so sad is the story I'm telling, he'll tell it, and he has told it to numerous of people. And he thinks it's funny. He said, man, they beat me with a broomstick. They beat me with a stitching cord. They beat me with all types of belt. Man, they even knuckled up with me. And man, I still wouldn't stay away from that girl. Facts. Facts. He would not. He would not. That's sad. But he would not. You got one time to whip me, player. It's over. So it was crazy. Because it didn't stop. The only thing that stopped is when they shipped him back out of town to his mother. Then he didn't have access to me as far as coming to see me until his mom came back in town. See, and this is the thing. My dad was a police officer. My auntie was married to a United States Marshal. Okay? And they escort the president and all that and stuff. So her husband didn't like my dad. And so she used to always say, well, my husband said he can come and arrest you if you do it again. And my dad was like, tell the end to come on. I'm going to use the word that newscaster say, tell the naker to come on. Like that. So, it was a power play. It was a power play. Everybody was mad at my daddy for taking up for me when they should have, because I was underage and I'm family too. But they took up for him. And so he was like, that's my daughter. Every day, all day, I'm going to fight for her. And I'm going to take up for her. So if you got a problem with that, you just got a problem with it. Don't play with him. He's not nothing to play with. But they explained to him why I was so angry and why I fought all the time. I would fight all the time. I didn't care if he was a dude, a female, older. I didn't care. I used to say from 8 to 80, you can get it. I fought all the time. And they used to call my daddy when they couldn't get it. Because, see, my mother worked for the court system. See, my family is all into law. So, when they couldn't get in touch with my mom, they would contact my daddy. They would call his unit. And if he was undercover, then, he would have to wait and return the call. But anyway, it was messed up. It was messed up because they would tell him, we have your daughter in our office, or we have your daughter, we're holding her, we're not going to lock her up or whatever, but we had to break her up from fighting. She was fighting 2 people at once and, all this and stuff. He's like, oh my goodness. And he asked me once, he said, why are you fighting so much? I wouldn't say nothing. Because he knew that if I'm fighting, somebody had to mess with me. I never started it, but I always finished it. I was shorter than most people, and I was smaller than most people. So I was a prime candidate for people to try to think that they can, bully me or whatever. But what they didn't know was I already had somebody that was forcing me. I had started forcing me to do stuff I didn't want to do. And so I had my voice taken because nobody would help me. So every other person that came up against me, you got what you got coming. Yes. So So anyway, it's wild. So, needless to say, when he came down my house the next day, he looked so bad. And he played on that. Oh my goodness, did he play on that? And I just was like, I felt bad because of how he looked. Sorry, I had to drink. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so, we were sitting on the couch. He laid his head on my lap, and everything. And he was like, it's worth it. It was worth it. And I'm looking at him like he's crazy. You're crazy. I said, my daddy almost killed you. You're crazy. No, I ain't. I'm in love. That's what he said. No, I ain't. I'm in love. I don't know, y'all. I still, and we've talked, and I've asked him several times. Okay, so the beginning of this year, he inboxed me. Yes, he's on my Facebook page. And I only did that because we have a family page and also my daughter. Okay. Lord help me. Anyway, he inboxed me and he said, hey, I love your pictures. I just want to say Happy New Year to you. I want to say more, but I know you're going to cut me off or you'll block me, so I'm not going to say anything. I'll just keep it to myself. He said, have a good one. And that was it. So I was like, oh, he's learning. That's what I thought, right? Nope, because he went and told our daughter something else. And she was like, Mama. I said, huh? She said, did Daddy inbox you? I said, yeah. She said, oh. I said, what now? So she told me X, Y, and Z, and I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. I said, you know what? Tell him don't even talk to me no more. I'm so serious. I said, because I'm trying to be nice because of you, because, whatever. And I forgave him, but he can't keep rubbing salt in my wounds. He can't do that. And I'm not going to have him disrespect my husband. He's done that enough. I've done that enough because, like I said, I'm not going to make this real long, but one of the stories I will get into picks up when he got out of penitentiary between me and him. Yes, it did not stop. The whole time he was in prison for those 19 and a half years, I rode it with him. Even though I was dating somebody else and all this and stuff, and I got married and all this and stuff, he still had that control over me, over my mind, over my heart. He still had that control over me. So um, he tricked me. I'm going to say this and I'm getting off of here. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Like I told you, the timeline, we're not doing timelines no more because, hey, I'm just telling y'all different stories that happened with this particular cousin. Because I'm going to move on pretty soon to other cousins, okay, including females. Because I had female cousins who molested me. I had a whole set of boy cousins, 3 of them. That's what I call a set. That with my female cousins made me the pick of the day. So yeah, it was. I've been through a lot when it comes to that. Um, so anyway, um, when he got out, okay, I said he tricked me. He wanted me to come and see him, and I was like, nope, because y'all was trying my best to fight it, because I told y'all he still had my man. He still even all them years he was in penitentiary. So now he's out. He has carte blanche to me. He has access to me, everything. So he wants me to come and see him, and I'm like, no, not gonna do it. So, the female cousin I told y'all that my grandmother adopted her mother and her mother's siblings. Okay, that female, we're gonna call her Tanya. He called her, and so she called me, and she said, Junebug's out. I said, yeah. She said, he asked me about you. I said, why? And he just talked to me. She said, that boy like it. And I said, whatever. So we changed the subject. So she said, I want to take you to lunch one day. I said, oh, that's nice, okay, like that. I have not put two and two together. So she said, how about Wednesday? I forgot what day it was actually on, so I'm just gonna pick a day. I said, let me see. I said, let me ask, make sure my husband ain't got nothing planned. So I asked my husband, he's like, no, babe. He said, matter of fact, I'm going to work early, so enjoy yourself. I said, okay. I said, yeah, that'd be fine. She said, I'll come and get you. I said, cool. So he had called me that morning talking about my cousin. And he said, what you doing today? I said, nothing. Why? I want you to come and see me. I said, didn't I tell you no? Don't keep asking me. He said, I ain't saw you in about 20 years. He said, I know 19 and a half. It's almost 20 years and I ain't seen you. He said, except for some pictures. He said, I want to see you. I said, nope. Because to be honest, y'all, I didn't trust me. Okay. And I'm married now, and everything. And I have a wonderful husband. So I'm like, I ain't, which I never heard nothing from my husband. I never got into the degree of everything, but he knew what he needed to know about the sexual stuff and all that. So he knew that, okay? Uh, anyway, so my cousin comes, I dress up all cute. We having the girls' lunch, of course, gonna put the little stuff on and, and everything. So we go to this restaurant. I live right in the city. Never heard of this restaurant in my life, okay? I'm like, oh, this is nice. It's off the river, We go in. The maitre d' at the door said, okay, and what's the name of the reservation? And she gives her name. They said, come in. Then they said, well, we don't see your name, but we have a spot for you. She says, and I quote, oh, we're guests of Junebugs. I looked at her with my mouth. I said, what? She said, I'm sorry, Coco. I'm sorry. Please don't get mad at me. He begged me to bring you. He begged me, please, please, please. And I said, I would be here. I said, oh my goodness, for real? You tricked me like that? Okay, so they show us where to sit. And now I'm anxious. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. Because if my husband show up just to make sure I'm okay and he sees him, it's going to be World War Six. Okay? And then I'm like, part of me want to see him because I haven't seen him in about 20 years. Last time I seen him, remember I told y'all he was in the courtroom. So I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, his mother calls my cousin. Okay? While we sitting there. And she's like, yeah, we here. She said, mm-hmm. She said, yeah, he asked me to come and have lunch on him, and we just waiting to see him and all this and stuff like that. I ain't seen him, and Coco's here with me. She's sitting across from me. She mad at me, but I hope she forgive me. I told her I was sorry, but he begged me, and she said, Okay, so I'm sitting there. Next thing I know, it's like I look up. He's coming from around the side with his chef jacket on. He's coming from around the side and he sees me, and I looks up and I see him looking at me, walking towards me with a smile. I mean, that smile was so big, you could have put like 6 large pistols in his mouth and he wouldn't have gagged. That's how big it was. And I'm sitting there and I'm just watching him walk up on me. And he gets to the table. He said, what's up, to our cousin. And he leaned down to me and kissed me. He said, I've waited 20 years for this. Yeah, I'm sitting here, like I said, if it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. He said, I've waited 20 years for this. He said, I'll be back. Walked away, came back with some appetizers for us. And the owner was like, oh, is this the people you was telling me about? He said, yeah. He said, well, go ahead, man. I'll pay you for the rest of the day. I understand you ain't seen her. You said 20 years? He said, yeah. He said, I understand. He said, go ahead. The rest of the day is on me. Even y'all food's on me. I said, oh, thank you. Like, that's a bad restaurant here. So he said, scoot over. I'm like, oh man, if my husband come in, I'm tripping now, y'all. I'm in a dilemma. I'm like, if my husband come in here and see this boy with me, so I scoots over, and so he's just staring at me, just with this big old Chester Cheetah smile on his face. He's just staring at me. He said, "You still beautiful." I said, "Thank you. You alright yourself?" Like that. And so his mother's like, she wanted to speak to him. So he grabbed the phone, said a couple words to her. She wanted to speak to me. I'm like, ugh. So she was like, "I heard he begged to see you." I said, "Yeah, she tricked me, and both of them would pay like that." And gave the phone back to my cousin so she could finish up. So anyway, she was talking to his mother. And so they brought us something else. Uh, and I forgot what it was, but they brought us something else. And when they brought us that, he got some off the plate and he bit it. And then he got some off the plate. He said, "Ooh, that's good." And he got some off the plate again. He said, "Here." And I looked at him. He said, "Open up." So again, being obedient, I opened up. He fed me, you know, and everything. He says, "Good, ain't it?" I said, "Yeah." He just kept staring at me. I said, "Would you stop staring at me?" He said, "I can't. I can't believe I'm sitting here with you." He said, "We grown now." Like that. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like that. Anyway, the rest of the evening, I got to admit, it was a nice lunch. Okay, it really was. And so we left because my girl cousin had to go and do something. So we walked across the street in this big old beautiful building. Where we live at, they got beautiful historical buildings, there's businesses and stuff like that off the water. So we walked in this big business, and I remember walking behind them because I'm trying to like get myself together. I'm like, you're married. You're married. But for some reason, I could not say no to this man. Now I know why, of course. Like I said, this is before counseling. And I'm walking, and so he realizes, because him and my girl cousin, they already, they done left me. And so I'm slowing up and I see water. I love water, y'all. I can't swim worth a lick, but I love fountains and the river and all this and stuff. So I see this big old fountain. I mean, it's huge inside of this building. So I go over to the fountain and I'm standing there just trying to clear my thoughts. And I I can feel him, okay? And I felt he had came back. And as I turned around, he was walking towards me. And I came away from the fountain a little bit and he stopped me. And he threw his arms around me. He said, "I love you, man. I love you so much." He said, "I am still in love with you." He said, "After all these years," he said, "Man, this has been since you was 8 years old." He said, "You know how old we are now?" He said, "I'm still in love with you. It's like it never went away, and it hasn't." He said, "It just hasn't." He said, "Just to be holding you like this," he said, "Man," he said, "You just don't know." I'm sitting here like going through different emotions because I'm married, and I'm married to a wonderful man. And then here is the man who should not have been the love of my life, but turns out to be one of the people who've taken up my life with all of that I can't say no to. Okay. So, but I had grown, I had grown a lot since he had been locked up. And he realized he wasn't dealing with a little girl or a teenager. He was dealing with a full, mature woman, you know. And a lot of stuff that used to fly wasn't gonna fly no more. And everything. He said, "I want to apologize to you, but I can't." He said, "Cause it'll be fake." He said, "Because I still feel the way I felt about you, but I do apologize for hurting you." That's what he said. That's what he said. And so from that day on, for a couple of more years, it was me and him. Anytime that he would call me at work, uh, I would pick him up when I got out from work. He would take me shopping, um, just like kind of make up for stuff. And I know that's what he was trying to do, is make up for different things. Um, him and his son's mother, which she hated me too, so whatever. He moved in with her, and he would call me while he was sitting there with her and talk to me. She hated that, but she knew not to say nothing to him about me. Anybody confront him about me had an issue. Okay, it was just, if I hadn't lived it, I wouldn't believe it. And I keep saying that because sometimes I step outside of it and I think about it and I'm like, wow, wow. And my girl cousin that I was talking about, she used to allow him or allow us to have her apartment, and she would leave. So anytime it was raining and we didn't want to be in the rain, or it was cold, or we just wanted to kick back, watch a movie, he wanted to cook for me, or whatever the case may be, she offered her apartment for that to happen. She would leave. And what's the crazy thing about it? When he got out, all my aunties and uncles knew that he was still dealing with me. It was not a secret. Because, like I said, my one auntie said, be careful. She said, you ain't got to tell me I'm right, but I know y'all back dealing with each other. That's exactly what she said. I can tell, because he's not around here acting crazy. She said, he's so calm. She said, he's so punctual. I mean, just different things. She said, so I know that's your influence. And I know y'all back dealing with each other. She said, be careful. You don't want to lose your husband, sweetie. And I was like, I don't know how to get away from this. I thought I was over it. I thought I was out of it. But anytime he calls, I go. Anytime. I said, don't you know, I've been sitting in my living room with my husband, watching a movie, in for the night, laid up on him, and my phone will ring, and he'll be like, I need to see you. I'm like, I'm in the house. I need to see you. How long is it going to take you to come get me? I'm like, give me about 20 minutes. All right. Click. My husband look at me, where you going? I'm like, such and such. And then I would use my girl cousin. She need me to take her somewhere. She need me to go Walmart. She need me, she need me, she need me. He's like, he wasn't falling for it after a while. At first he was like, okay. Then he started putting, I guess, two and two together. But one day he was in one of our other cars. And I didn't know that he took off after me. But I must have lost him because when I was going over my mom's house, he was coming from the street where my mom was. And one of my daughters said, my oldest daughter, because I picked her up, she said, Mama, ain't that Daddy? And I looked. I said, uh-huh. I said, he's looking for me. She said, what you mean? I said, it's a long story. She said, oh, my goodness. I said, no, nothing like that. We not met each other, but I know he's looking for me. And he was. He told me. He was looking for me. He was trying to find me with him, with my cousin. And what's so funny, I hadn't been with him, but I was on my way as soon as I dropped my daughter off. It just so happened when he saw me, I was with my daughter. So he let his guard down and said he was going home. And I said, okay, I'll be home after I leave from here. I got one more stop to make. I didn't lie. I said, I got one more stop to make. He said, okay. He went home, dropped my daughter off for my mama, stayed for a minute, then left. Exit stage gone, and met where I was supposed to meet at. Yep. So it was a mess. It was a mess, and I'm not glorifying this. I'm just telling you what all had happened. And ain't no use me, like, like I felt really horrible about it. I did feel bad about it, but at the time, my emotions and my mind was wrapped up in the situation. And so it was like I had lived a double life so long. It was natural. Think about it. I had been living this life since 9 years old, and it was just natural. And, Let me see if I can get this in before it's already almost an hour, so let me get this in. So I told you guys that he moved out. He had to go to a halfway house first when he got out of penitentiary. And then he transitioned from the halfway house to his son's mother's house. Okay. So she had been begging him the whole time he was locked up to marry her. Okay? Because not only did I do the bid with him, but she did too. Okay? So he was like, I'm just now getting out. I've been locked up almost 20 years. I ain't trying to be tied down like that. He tried his best not to marry this girl, but she was like, I waited for you. And it was, yeah, I witnessed this whole episode that I'm telling y'all about. I'm standing there like, you have got to be crazy begging a man to marry you. What is wrong with you? So anyway, um, so I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like the fact, one, that he was staying there, two, that he was going to marry her. So the night before the wedding, you're supposed to spend it with your bachelor. With your men or whatever, groomsmen and stuff. The night before his wedding, he was with me. And this was part of the conversation. I'll never forget it. If it was with anybody but somebody I was kin to, it would have been the most romantic night you would have ever seen in your life. We were at this park that we both love, sitting on a picnic bench, beautiful sky, stars. Everything was perfect about that night. And he had his arms wrapped around me, and I was linked back into him. So if you look, we looked like we was a couple. He said, what I'm about to do to Ma is not going to change anything between us. I feel like maybe I owe her this, so that's why I'm doing it. But it's not going to change nothing with us. And by me being with you, and I'm getting married to Ma, and I'm here with you now, that should show you that that's just a formality like the first time. It doesn't mean anything to me. He said, I can't marry you now, can I? Because you're married. So, all this conversation went on. So, even when I got home, he called me. I said, you need to go to bed. You got to get up and get married in the morning, and you're talking to me on the phone, and it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. He's like, I just don't want to let you go. Okay. Okay, so y'all, guess who went to the wedding? You right, me. One of the hardest things I had ever done. But one of my other girl cousins was like, cuz, let's go crash this wedding. We don't like her anyway. So, that's not funny. So I was like, I got an invitation. And so everybody in the family wanted to know, will I go? They was wanting to know, is she really going to go? Because they know. And yes, I did. Dressed so pretty. Sat right on the second row. Sure did. Because I wanted to see for myself if he was going to really go through with it. So my cousins was like, he's having a hard time standing up there because he keep looking at you. I said, I know. And that's why I'm sitting right here where I'm sitting at. I wanted to be hard for him. So she came down the aisle. She looked pretty. Most brides do. Even if they ugly on their wedding day, they look pretty. I'm not going to hate on her. They got up there, and the minister kept trying to say something. And he couldn't remember to say what he was supposed to say because he kept looking at me. And I kept just staring. So then I guess he figured, well, I'm going to say what I got to say, but I'm going to say it to her like I'm saying it to her. Case in point, that's what happened. So, that went on. Yeah. Then it was over. After it was over, we went outside, and I was scared to walk on, and like they were outside greeting everybody and stuff, and I came down the step. He turned around and looked and just followed me all the way down the step while everybody was trying to congratulate and talk and, oh, I can't believe you did it and blah blah blah. He was following me on up the street, and then he started walking towards me, and she saw him and she called him. He said, wait a minute, like that. And my uncle touched him on the shoulder and said, I read his mouth. He said, it's your wedding day. So he stood in the middle of the street. So he said, okay. So he turned around. He told my girl cousin that was sitting next to me, evidently to go get me or whatever, because she was like, hey, go, hold up. And so I said, okay. So she said, I've been summoned over here to you. I said, yeah, I kind of figured that like that. She said, you going to the reception? I said, nope. She said, yes, you are. How else are you getting home? I thought about that. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing at the car waiting on everybody to get in the car so we can go to this bogus reception, like the bogus wedding I just attended. And he came over to the car and bent down. He said, y'all going to the reception? Looking at me, but talking to my other cousin. She said, yeah. He said, all right, I'll see y'all there. Like that. So she shook her head. She said, that's a shame. I said, what? She said, y'all. She said, man. She said, it's so obvious. I was like, okay. So anyway, get to the reception. We go in. And so I don't start dancing. I'm like, yeah, having myself, a little ball. Let's turn up. He comes over to dance with me. No, dance with that. She good. So my auntie's like, you supposed to be over there. Greg cut the cake and all this. So he getting mad because it's no funny. I'm sorry. He's getting mad because everybody keeps telling him his don't look right. You here is supposed to be over there. So he's getting pissed because he don't want nobody to tell him not to be around me. So he's sitting next to her and he hollers, Coco. And this is at the reception. I'm like, huh? Come here. Why? Man, come here. So I go over, everybody's looking. They looking at her, they looking at me. They looking at her, looking at me. So I get over, I'm like, what? He said, taste this cake. Y'all. So inappropriate. All the way around. So inappropriate. So messed up. It was just messed up. I'm like, I don't want to taste the cake. And she's not saying like nothing like, honey, blah, 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 because you're not going to do me like that. I ain't going to have it. But she ain't saying nothing. She's just like everybody else is. They trying to play it out, but everybody's stern. She's standing there stern to me. And he's standing there with a piece of cake in his hand, trying to feed me cake. And look, here, wait a minute. Here's some cupcakes. Come on, walk over here with me so I can give you these cupcakes. And I'm like, okay, I'll get over in a minute. No, come on. Here, let me fix you some punch. You want something else? You hungry? You want me to fix your plate? Here, sit down. I'll fix your plate. And I'm like, well, don't you think you ought to fix her plate? She good. My auntie's like, it don't make no sense. At his wedding, I said, hey, I didn't want to come. He asked me to come. Matter of fact, he begged me to come. I said, I didn't want to come to the reception. I just don't have my way home. She's like, I know, but I'm talking about how he's acting in his own reception. He catering to you, and that's his wife. I said, yeah. So she came over. She said, thank you for coming. And she hugged me, and I hugged her back, and everything. And I'm like, yeah, we can ready to go. I mean, it was some time to pass. A whole lot more stuff happened, but I don't want to sit on here for no 2 hours and tell y'all the ins and out of everything. So I got ready to walk out of the reception hall. I'm walking. I hear him. I have not looked back. I hear him holler, "Where Coco?" They said, "She's left. She's gone up the hall. We leaving." He was like, Where's she at?" They said, "You don't see her right there going up the step?" He hollered, "Coco." I said, "Why is he screaming at me like that?" And I stopped. I said, "What? You ain't gonna say bye?" I said, "Bye." No, I ain't talking about like that. So he come all the way to me and throw his arms around me and just hugging me and hold me, talking about, "Don't leave me." What do you mean? You know what I mean? Don't let this put a wedge between us. Don't let this put a wedge. He's whispering all this in my ear. I told you last night what this was about. I told you. So don't be thinking this is all straight and stuff. Don't be starting to do all that because you acting funny. And I'm like, okay, okay. He said, "Why you crying?" I said, "Because this is dysfunctional. This is so dysfunctional. I can't do this." I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, "My heart is breaking, and my heart shouldn't be breaking. Do you understand that?" I said, "My heart's breaking. That goes to show me I'm still too wrapped up in you, and I don't like it because I got a husband." So what you trying to say? This is bad. I told you I ain't gonna never let you go. Never. He said, "I'll make your life hell." He said, "Think I'm playing." And I just looked at him. I said, "You need to let me go so I can go on. This is not fair to me. You've held me hostage my whole life. My whole life. Just let me go." For real. And I'm crying. I ain't like, but I mean, tears is just flowing. I'm like, just let me go. You got a wife now. I said, again, but you got a wife now. I said, you working, you stable. Let me go. I'm the only thing that's interrupting this flow. He's like, no, you the only thing that's making this flow. He said, ask her. She know about you. I'm like, I know she do. You told her about me from the beginning, but still, I can't do this. And I just kept saying, I can't do this. And he's steadily trying to pull my hand, talking about, nah, I can't let you go like this because I don't like what I'm feeling. I don't like what I'm feeling. I'm like, I can't do it. Can't do it. I can't do it like that. And then I just hugged him, and he just kept holding on to me, and I hugged him, and I hugged him, and I hugged him, and I hugged him, and I said, I let you go. I let you go. He's like, "No, man." He kept hollering, "No, man, no." And so my uncle's like, "Man, get back in there with your wife." He said, "Man, yeah, wait a minute. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, I'm talking to her. Don't do it." That's all he kept on saying. "Don't do it. I'm talking to her." He's like, I don't like how this is sounding." He said, "I don't like how this is sounding. It sounds like a bad." I said, "It is. It is. I can't do this." And I tried my best, y'all. Like I said, it was a fight to get him to stay at his own reception, okay? And I tried my best to go home and not answer his calls and everything. And for a while, I was good. And then he would catch me, and he would say, "I'm just calling to check on you." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And then he said, "I still love you." I'm like, "Bye." And all this went on. And then it would be times he would be like, "I need to see you. Let's just go hang out." And I would make the mistake thinking that, we gonna finally be cousins and hang. And it never ended up like that. I got deeper, you know. Um, one of the last things that happened, and I'm just going to hit on this, and then sometime tomorrow I'll go back and tell you about the whole story. But one of the last things happened. I never told him where I lived at, but I kept feeling like somehow he was watching me. And I just kept feeling that. So one day he called me and he's like, "What you doing?" I said, "Hey," I said, sipping on some coffee, waiting to put baby girl on the bus. He said, "What you gonna do after you put her on the bus?" I said, "Shoot, none." I said, "Cause I cleaned my house last night." I said, "I don't cook until around 1 because I always like the food to be ready when my husband get home." He said, I said, "Stop it, like that." So he said, "Okay, well, after you put her on the bus," he said, "go somewhere with me." I said, "Boy, you don't know where I live at." He said, "Ain't that you standing on the porch? You got on this, that, and the other. And matter of fact, baby girl's bus just pulled up and she's running to the bus." I turned around, was like, "Where are you at?" He said, "You see a red truck?" I said, "Oh my goodness." He said, "Yeah, it's me." He said, "It's me." I said, "How'd you find out where I live at?" He said, "I'll tell you." He said, "But I've been coming on the street. I've been parked back here. I can tell you some stuff." So he had been stalking me. He admitted it. And my cousin knew, and she told me, "Be careful." She said, because in his mind, he done got it twisted again. And he's failing to realize you're a married woman, and he's talking crazy, you know, and stuff. And she's just be careful. So even his mom was like, "Be careful." She said, "I told you this when you was younger." She said, "But now he's older. We can't stop him. And he's talking like something's wrong. He's you know, and everything." So I said, "Okay, give me a couple minutes so I can get some clothes on. I'll be out." So one of my neighbors was on her porch when I got ready to leave. And so as I was walking down the step, she said, "Hey," I said, "Hey, remember the car I'm getting into, okay?" Like I kind of turned my head, and she said, "Oh, okay." Like that's okay. You have a good one, like that. And so I went on. He opened the car door for me. I hopped in the truck, rather not car door, but truck. Hopped in the truck, and I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "Don't worry about it." It was just something off. Like I remember that look in his eyes when I was younger. It was something off, you know. And so we happened to turn and bumped into one of my daughters. And she's like, "Mama, where you going?" I said, "I have no idea. But you see who I'm with? You see the truck, right?" She said, "Uh-huh." I said, "Okay. I'll be back home shortly." So I don't know if it triggered him to be like, well, too many people done saw her with me, and stuff. So, because I really believe, y'all, I really believe that day he was going to do one or two things with me. And when I come back with this story, I'll tell you what happened. I think that day he had made up in his mind that if I said no to him, he was either going to kill me or he was either going to kidnap me. One of the two. One of the two. I saw it in his eyes. I can't explain it, but he had gotten to a point to where I'm going to make her be with me. That's just how he felt. So, and I tell you what happened on the next video when he caught himself making me be with him. So, thank you guys for subscribing to me, all that has, and thank you so much for just leaving your positive affirmations and positive notes and everything to me about the situation. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys. You have a wonderful day, and in the words of Fabe, have an amazing night. All right. God bless you guys. Smooches.